My sister destroyed my wedding day, and she never said she was sorry. How do you forgive someone who refuses to admit they hurt you? Stay with me, because what I learned changed everything. I still remember the look on my mother's face that morning. It wasn't joy, it wasn't pride, it was fear. She stood in the doorway of my childhood bedroom, holding my veil in her trembling hands, and she whispered, "Please, Sarah, just let it go, not today." But how could I let it go? My wedding dress had a coffee stain the size of a handprint across the bodice. My flowers were wilted because someone had left them outside overnight. And my sister, Emily, was nowhere to be found. Everyone kept saying it was an accident, a mistake, bad timing, but I knew better. I knew because I had seen the look in her eyes the night before, cold, distant, almost satisfied, when she said, "I guess tomorrow you'll finally have everything you ever wanted." It wasn't a congratulation. It was a warning. I tried to ignore it. I tried to focus on Michael, my fiancé, the man I loved more than anything. I tried to tell myself that nothing could ruin this day, but deep down I knew. I knew something was coming, and when I woke up that morning and saw my dress, my flowers, my carefully planned day falling apart piece by piece, I didn't even have to ask. I knew it was her. My younger sister, the girl I had protected my whole life, the girl I had loved, defended, sacrificed for, she had done this to me, and the worst part, she acted like she had done nothing wrong. She showed up to the wedding late, wearing a white dress, yes, white with her hair done exactly like mine. She smiled at everyone like she was the bride. She laughed, she danced, she made jokes. And when I finally confronted her in the bathroom, tears streaming down my face, my hands shaking, she just shrugged. "I don't know what you're talking about, Sarah," she said. "You're being dramatic, dramatic." That word echoed in my head for years, because that's what everyone called me, dramatic, sensitive, jealous. No one believed me, not my mother, not my father. Not even Michael at first. They all said I was overthinking it, that Emily would never do something like that I was letting wedding stress get to me, but I knew the truth. And for the next 10 years, I carried that truth like a stone in my chest. I waited for an apology that never came. I waited for her to admit what she had done. I waited for someone, anyone, to see what I had seen, but no one ever did, until one day everything changed, and I realized that forgiveness was never about her. It was about me. If these stories feel real to you, please subscribe. Let me take you back to the beginning, because this story didn't start on my wedding day. It started long before that. Emily and I grew up in a small town outside of Cleveland, Ohio. We were only 2 years apart, but we were completely different. I was the responsible one, the planner, the peacemaker. Emily was the wild one, the dreamer, the one everyone forgave because she was just being Emily. Our mother used to say, "Sarah, you're my rock. Emily, you're my sunshine." And I believed her. I believed that we each had our role, and that was okay. I didn't mind being the rock. I didn't mind being the one who cleaned up messes, who made sure the bills were paid, who reminded everyone of birthdays and appointments. I thought that's what older sisters did. I thought that's what love looked like. But somewhere along the way, something shifted. I can't pinpoint exactly when. Maybe it was when I got accepted to college and Emily didn't. Maybe it was when I got my first serious boyfriend and she got jealous. Maybe it was when our father got sick and I became his primary caretaker while she went out with friends. I don't know. But I started to notice little things. The way she would borrow my clothes without asking and return them stained or torn. The way she would cancel plans with me at the last minute but never with anyone else. The way she would make jokes at my expense in front of other people and then say, "I'm just kidding, Sarah." "Don't be so sensitive," I brushed it off. I told myself she was young, that she didn't mean it, that I was overthinking, but then I met Michael. Michael was everything I had ever wanted. Kind, stable, supportive. He worked as an engineer, he loved his family, he wanted the same things I did, a home, kids, a simple, peaceful life. And for the first time in my life, I felt like I had something that was truly mine, not something I had to share, not something I had to sacrifice, not something I had to explain or defend, just mine. I remember the day I introduced him to my family. My mother hugged him and said, "Welcome to the family, Michael. "We're so happy Sarah found you." My father shook his hand and said, "Take care of her. She's special." And Emily smiled, but her eyes didn't. She looked at him the way someone looks at something they want but can't have, and I felt a chill run down my spine. I told myself I was imagining it, that I was being paranoid. But deep down, I knew that Emily didn't want me to be happy, not because she was cruel, not because she hated me, but because she couldn't stand to see me have something she didn't. And when Michael proposed to me on a rainy Saturday in October, in front of the little cafe where we had our first date, I was overjoyed. I called my mother. I called my father. I called Emily. My mother cried, my father laughed. Emily said, "Congratulations," and hung up. I didn't think much of it at the time, but looking back, I should have known, I should have seen the signs. Because from that moment on, everything changed. Emily stopped answering my calls. She stopped coming to family dinners. She stopped replying to my texts. And when I asked her what was wrong, she said, "Nothing, I'm just busy." But I knew better. I knew she was pulling away, and I didn't know how to stop it. So I did what I always did. I tried harder. I invited her to help me plan the wedding. I asked her to be my maid of honor. I told her how much she meant to me, and she said yes. She smiled. She hugged me. She promised she would be there for me. And I believed her because she was my sister. And I thought that meant something. If these stories feel real to you, please subscribe. The wedding planning should have been the happiest time of my life. But it wasn't. Every decision I made, Emily questioned. Every choice I was excited about, she criticized. I wanted a small, intimate ceremony. She said it was boring. I wanted soft pink roses. She said they were childish. I wanted a simple lace dress. She said I would look like a grandmother. At first, I tried to laugh it off. I tried to tell myself she was just being honest, that she was trying to help. But then the comments got sharper. "Are you sure Michael is ready for this? He seems kind of reserved. Do you really think you're mature enough to get married? You've never even lived on your own. I just hope you're not rushing into this because you're scared of being alone." Each comment felt like a tiny cut, small enough to ignore, but deep enough to sting. And when I tried to talk to her about it, she would laugh and say, "Sarah, you're being too sensitive. I'm your sister. I'm allowed to tease you." But it didn't feel like teasing, it felt like sabotage. And then, 2 weeks before the wedding, things got worse. I had asked Emily to pick up my wedding dress from the seamstress. It was a simple task. The shop was 10 minutes from her apartment. She said she would do it, but the day came and went. No dress. I called her, no answer. I texted her, no response. Finally, at 9 p.m., she called me back. "Oh my God, Sarah, I'm so sorry, I completely forgot, I'll get it tomorrow." I took a deep breath. I tried to stay calm. "Emily, the shop is closed tomorrow. It's Sunday. I needed that dress today because I have my final fitting on Monday." "Well, I don't know what to tell you, I forgot." "It's not the end of the world." Not the end of the world. I wanted to scream, but instead I said, "Okay, it's fine, I'll figure it out." And I did. I called the seamstress at home, apologized profusely, and begged her to open the shop for me the next day. She agreed, but only because she felt sorry for me. When I told my mother what happened, she sighed. "Sarah, you know how Emily is, she's forgetful, don't take it personally. Don't take it personally." How was I supposed to not take it personally when it kept happening? The flowers I had ordered were suddenly unavailable because someone, Emily, had called and canceled them, claiming I had changed my mind. The venue almost double-booked our date because someone, Emily, had called and asked them to hold a different date, just in case. The photographer showed up an hour late because someone, Emily, had given him the wrong address. Every single time, she said it was a mistake. Every single time, she acted confused. Every single time, I had to fix it. And every single time, my mother told me to let it go. "She's your sister, Sarah. She loves you. She would never hurt you on purpose." But I wasn't so sure anymore. Because the night before the wedding, everything came to a head. We were all staying at a hotel near the venue. My mother, my father, Emily, my bridesmaids, Michael and his groomsmen. I was in my room, trying on my dress one last time, making sure everything was perfect. Emily knocked on the door. "Can I come in?" I hesitated, but I let her in. She stood there, looking at me in my dress, and for a moment I saw something in her eyes. Something I couldn't name. Sadness, anger, envy. "You look beautiful," she said, but her voice was flat. "Thank you," I said. We stood there in silence. And then she said, "Do you ever think about what could have been different?" "What do you mean?" "I mean, what if I had met Michael first? What if things had gone differently?" My heart stopped. "Emily, what are you talking about?" She shrugged. "Nothing, just thinking out loud." And then she left. I stood there, staring at the door, my hands shaking. And I knew that tomorrow something was going to go wrong. I just didn't know how bad it would be. If these stories feel real to you, please subscribe. The morning of my wedding, I woke up with a knot in my stomach. I told myself it was nerves. Every bride feels nervous. But deep down, I knew it was something else. I walked into the bridal suite at 7 a.m., expecting to see my dress hanging beautifully, my flowers arranged, my bridesmaids ready to help me get dressed. Instead, I saw chaos. My dress was crumpled on the floor. There was a dark brown stain across the front. Coffee. My flowers were wilted, sitting in a puddle of water on the windowsill. My makeup artist was calling to cancel because someone had told her the wedding was postponed. And Emily, nowhere to be found. I felt my chest tighten. My hands went numb. I couldn't breathe. My mother rushed in, saw the dress, and gasped. "What happened?" "I don't know," I whispered. "I don't know." One of my bridesmaids, Jessica, picked up the dress and examined it. "This looks intentional, Sarah. Coffee doesn't just spill like this." My mother shot her a look. "Don't say that, it was an accident." But Jessica didn't back down. "Mrs. Anderson, look at it. This is a handprint." And she was right. You could see the outline of fingers. Someone had poured coffee on my dress and pressed their hand into it. I felt bile rise in my throat. "Where's Emily?" I asked. "I don't know," my mother said. "She left early this morning. She said she had to run an errand." An errand on my wedding day. I wanted to scream. I wanted to cry. I wanted to call the whole thing off. But I didn't, because I was Sarah, the responsible one, the one who didn't make a scene, so I called the seamstress. Again, she rushed over with a backup dress. It wasn't the one I wanted, but it would have to do. I called a florist. They brought whatever they had available. I called the makeup artist and begged her to come back. And somehow, by the grace of God, I made it to the ceremony. But I wasn't the same. I stood at the altar, holding Michael's hands, saying my vows, and all I could think about was Emily. Where was she? And then, halfway through the ceremony, the doors opened. And there she was, wearing a white dress. Not off-white, not cream. White, the same shade as mine. Her hair was curled exactly like mine. Her makeup was the same, even her bouquet looked similar. She walked down the aisle like she was the bride. People turned and stared, some gasped, others whispered, and Emily, she smiled. She sat down in the front row, crossed her legs, and looked right at me. And I knew she had done it on purpose. All of it, the dress, the flowers, the chaos. She wanted to ruin my day. And she had. After the ceremony, I found her in the bathroom. I didn't yell, I didn't cry, I just asked. "Why?" She looked at me in the mirror, adjusting her lipstick. "Why what? You know what, Emily, why did you do this?" She turned to me, and for the first time I saw the truth in her eyes. "Because you always get everything, Sarah, the perfect grades. The perfect job, the perfect guy, and I'm tired of being the screw-up. So you decided to ruin my wedding." "I didn't ruin anything, you're still married, aren't you?" And that's when I realized. She would never apologize. She would never admit what she had done. Because in her mind, she was the victim. And I was the one who had everything. If these stories feel real to you, please subscribe. I didn't speak to Emily for 3 years. Not at Christmas. Not at birthdays. Not even when our father passed away. I stood on one side of his funeral and she stood on the other. My mother begged me to reconcile. She cried. She pleaded. "She's your sister, Sarah. Life is too short for this." But I couldn't because she never said sorry. And without that apology, I didn't know how to forgive her. Michael tried to help. He would say, "Maybe she doesn't know how to apologize. Maybe she's too proud." But that didn't make it hurt any less. For 3 years, I carried that pain. I replayed the wedding in my mind. I remembered every detail, every moment she had ruined. And I hated her for it, but then something shifted. It was a Tuesday afternoon. I was at home folding laundry when my phone rang. It was my mother. Sarah, Emily's in the hospital. My heart stopped. What happened? She collapsed at work. They're running tests. I think you should come. I didn't want to. Every part of me wanted to say no. But I went. I walked into that hospital room and I saw her, pale, fragile, small. She looked at me, and for the first time in 3 years, she didn't look angry. She looked broken. I didn't think you'd come, she whispered. I almost didn't. We sat in silence, and then she said something I never expected. I'm sorry, Sarah. I stared at her. I'm sorry for everything. For the wedding, for the dress, for all of it. I wanted to feel relief. I wanted to feel vindicated, but all I felt was tired. Why now, Emily? Why after all this time? Because I almost died today. And I realized, I don't want to die with you hating me. I don't hate you. Yes, you do, and I don't blame you. I looked at her, really looked at her, and I saw something I hadn't seen before. She wasn't the villain I had made her out to be. She was just a broken person who didn't know how to deal with her own pain. And I realized something. Forgiveness wasn't about her apology. It was about my peace. I forgive you, Emily. She started to cry, and so did I, not because everything was fixed, not because the hurt was gone, but because I was finally free. If these stories feel real to you, please subscribe. Emily didn't die that day. The doctors said it was a severe panic attack, stress, exhaustion, but I think it was something more. I think it was the weight of everything she had been carrying. And that day, she finally let it go. We didn't become best friends overnight. Healing doesn't work like that. But we started talking. Slowly, carefully. She told me things I never knew. How she had always felt like she was living in my shadow. How our parents compared her to me constantly. How she felt like she would never be good enough. And I listened. Not because I agreed with everything she said. Not because it excused what she had done. But because I finally understood. Hurt people, and Emily had been hurting for a long time. I told her about the wedding, about how much it had hurt me, about the years I spent hating her, and she cried. Not because she wanted sympathy, but because she finally saw what she had done. I can't take it back, Sarah. I wish I could, but I can't. I know, I said, but you can do better. And so can I, and we did. It took time, it took patience, it took a lot of hard conversations. But slowly we rebuilt. Not the relationship we had before, but something new, something stronger. Something real. Today, Emily is one of my closest friends. She's the first person I call when something goes wrong, and the first person I celebrate with when something goes right. We don't talk about the wedding much. We don't need to, because we both know what happened, and we both chose to move forward. Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. It doesn't mean pretending it didn't hurt. It means choosing peace over pride. It means letting go of the need to be right. It means trusting that God sees everything. And that He will handle what we cannot. I think about my wedding day sometimes, and it still stings a little, but I also think about the years after, the healing, the growth. And I realize that if it hadn't happened, I wouldn't be who I am today. I wouldn't understand forgiveness the way I do now. I wouldn't know how to let go. And I wouldn't know that love isn't about perfection. It's about grace. So if you're holding on to something today, I want you to know this. You don't need an apology to forgive. You don't need closure to move on. You just need to decide that you deserve peace. And then you let go, not for them, for you. And this is where my story ends tonight. Life doesn't always give us answers right away. Sometimes, God asks us to stay patient, stay kind, and stay silent, not because we are weak, but because He sees what others do not. If this story touched your heart, take a moment to reflect. Maybe someone needed this reminder today. Thank you for listening with an open heart. May God see every silent struggle and replace pain with peace. Until next time, this was Voice of Auntie Universe. If these stories feel real to you, please subscribe.